Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our Tuesday, September 12th, 2023 Board of Equalization agenda. I'm going to go ahead and call this to order. If you'll all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Attorney Garcia, do we have certification of today's agenda?
You do. The County Attorney's Office has reviewed all items on the agenda and the appropriate jurisdictions in place.
Thank you, sir. And do any commissioners have disclosures for items on this agenda today?
I have none, thank you.
No, sir.
And I have none either. With that, we'll move on to item 2, which is our consent agenda. Item 2A is approval of the minutes from August 2nd, 2022.
I have a motion to approve the requested item A of the consent agenda.
Second.
So we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries 3-0. We'll now move on to item 3A in our regular agenda, which is the acceptance of real property and personal property reports from the Douglas County Assessor. Assessor Toby Damisch presenting. Toby?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Toby Damisch, County Assessor. It is my pleasure to be here today. Pursuant to Title 39-8105, I have both the requirement and the honor of reporting to you the results of the 2023 Assessor protest period, which are before you in your documents. As each of the three of you are expertly aware, Colorado's experienced the most impactful reassessment in our history. And I'd like to begin by thanking each of the three of you for being so instrumental in the process of educating and engaging our citizens in this dramatic and complicated situation before us this year. This year, we experienced a record appeal rate beyond everyone's expectations. 33,002 property owners filed appeals on 36,305 addresses. Of those, almost 32,000 were residential homes, condominiums, and townhomes. The number of appeals on residential property is triple in the next highest year we have ever experienced and equals to about 1 out of every 4 residential properties in Douglas County. I want to thank the citizens of Douglas County who interacted with my office in an engaging, professional, and a polite manner, which was 99.9% of them. I need to thank the employees of the Assessor's Office for their hard work, long hours, commitment, and dedication this whole year. They've seen very little of their families through this year, and I appreciate their effort to this day as they're working County Board of Equalization. It has no doubt been a challenge of a lifetime for each one of them. And finally, I'd like to thank Christy Gordon. I don't know if she's in the room, but her office and her team have begun working the County Board of Equalization, which is the second level of appeal for our citizens. And that got underway on September 1 and will continue through November 1st. My reports before you, I would like to just finish by saying if the residential property appeals and that reassessment were the headlines this year, as they should be. This really very dramatic situation and frankly a crisis for many. Of those property owners that filed an appeal, the assessor reduced 41% of those appeals prior to CBUE. And hopefully we can increase that number as we go into this next level of appeal. I do have one more important topic that I'd like to present to you today, but I'm happy to take any questions or comments about this report if now is the time for that.
Thank you, Assessor Damisch. Any questions for Toby?
Assessor Damisch, I do have a question, if you could just clarify this, because I think the report that I looked at last night had about 1,800 pages. Yeah. And I skimmed through it, and it looked like people who filed an appeal on their residential property that got a change, the amount was in red. but towards the end of this document, there were pages that had the number in black that seemed to increase that total. So can you explain what was increased and why?
Yeah, first let me start by, this has been a hot topic in the news and among county assessors this year, and my office did not increase any real property appeals. So that would be appeals on residential property, vacant land, commercial industrial property, ag, et cetera. What you're seeing there is the results of the business personal property protest period. And what happens in business personal property is quite different than in real estate. For one thing, those values don't ever go up in a year, they go down. And what we use at Douglas County, the protest period for business personal property for, is to address and work with business owners on their personal property accounts during the appeal season. For instance, there's a requirement for small businesses to file a declaration with our office by April 15th. Well, many business owners forget to do that or fail to do that because they're focused on running their business. So we use the personal property protest period to engage them and get those assets corrected in a manner compliant with the law. And so that's what you're seeing in these reports before you are the results of the real property protest as well as the business personal property protest.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure what I was reading. So what I think I heard you say is that even if somebody filed an appeal, nobody in Douglas County had their property increased in value for their residents if they filed an appeal.
Correct. 100% correct. Thank you.
I think that's important to be on the record.
Is.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner Teal, any comments or questions?
You know, first of all, the report summary is pretty clear, and then going through it, just like my colleague, yeah, there's an awful lot of red there showing how values were actually adjusted down. So I realize that was a great deal of work for you and your staff to undertake. And listen, this is a hot topic for our community. And a whole lot of people feeling like, you know, something that was good, the residential property value going up, it feels like, you know, it's the gift they didn't want, at least not at this level of volume. And they feel like they're being victimized by a system that normally is great because everybody wants their property values to go up over time. But this fast, and especially based upon how we do assess property tax here in the state, yeah, it's the gift that nobody wanted, and it's a source of victimization that many feel. So I really appreciate all the work, and it's, you know, going through it. Right now I'm looking at the summary on page 6 of the packet, and by golly, those total adjustments, correct me if I'm wrong, but I learned math in the Greeley public school system, but that's $1 billion, is it not?
Yeah, we reduced the actual value, which is market value, by $1.14 billion at Assessor protest.
Well, thank you for doing that diligent work for the people of Douglas County. Again, I'm cognizant, colleagues, that means that our possible revenues that could have been realized are reduced, but I would submit before my colleagues and before the people of Douglas County, that's okay. That's revenue that we probably did not need above and beyond the normal services we provide. So well done, Assessor. Thank you for that work.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Teal. Well, Assessor Damisch, I think we are so deeply appreciative and humbled to have a elected team member like you in the service of not only our county, but our entire state. You've heard me say this many times, and we know it's true. You've become the foremost expert, not only in the region, but throughout the state of Colorado on property taxes. And for those that don't know you, your passion to serve the citizens of Douglas County and reduce that tax burden for them to the best of your legal ability is profound. And we share that passion with you and have greatly appreciated your engagement with us, both in our work sessions and our many town hall
calls on the subject just to educate those that work and live in our county and own property in our county of the impact of this property tax. I'll say on a personal note that we deeply appreciate the families of all of those in your office, and our best to Marcy and your family as well, because we know the tremendous sacrifice that it has been to take this on in your first year as the elected assessor. So thank you. Anything additional from the Board of County Commissioners? Assessor Damisch?
Yeah, so I would like to talk about another topic, if I may, and that is introduction of a concept called a horizontal adjustment to a property class that would be administered by the County Board of Equalization. And under the current law, there is a provision which allows the BOCC, acting as the BOE, to contemplate the adjustment to an entire property class of value. And what I would like to do today is simply introduce this to you so we can start a discussion, and with your permission, have my office begin an analysis to determine what we at Douglas County are capable of doing specifically for the residential property class of properties in Douglas County, because this year, as you know, homes and condominiums and townhomes have increased between 30 and 60% in value, with an average about 48. Call it 50. And that is a dramatic and expensive situation for all of us who have homes here and frankly throughout Colorado. Acting as the CBOE, there is a statute which allows you to address this if the situation calls for it. And our preliminary look at our values indicates that Douglas County could possibly afford another 4 to 5% adjustment for the entire residential property class. That would be a horizontal adjustment, which could apply to every residential address, single family, condominium, and townhome in Douglas County. This action cannot be taken by the assessor, as I am turning over the county's assessments to the CBOE today through our report. But as we work through County Board of Equalization in the next few weeks, I hope we have an opportunity to talk about this again in the coming days. And I would like to make a formal proposal at that next discussion, whenever we can make it happen, of an adjustment between 4 and 5%. This is an adjustment that, if applied, if you took action on, would get applied post-assessor protest and pre any CBOE decision. So as an example, if we had a homeowner who engaged us on appeal and received a 5% reduction at assessor protest, a horizontal adjustment performed by the CBOE would be in addition to that adjustment that took place. I think I'll leave it there. I know that's a vague introduction, but it's complicated. We've already started work on it, and with your permission, we'll continue that work and come back to you with a specific proposal at a later date, but in the next 2 weeks.
Assessor Damisch, thank you for that recommendation. Let me just ask the Board of County Commissioners if there are any comments or questions with regard to the recommendation.
Assessor Damisch, I appreciate you coming before us with this information. I think this is an intriguing thing. I'll be looking forward to hearing more from you. I just like to clarify. I heard you say this applies to single-family homes, condos, and apartment and townhouses. Does it apply to apartment buildings?
Yeah, so we have a lot of research to do, but it is our understanding as of today that it does not apply to multifamily, as multifamily in recent years has been pulled out of the residential class of property. And so your right is to act on a class of property, and I'll be asking you to act on residential, which would exclude multifamily but include those others.
Thank you for that information. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner Teal?
So Toby, I mean, your report says that your work has decreased the property tax burden on the people of Douglas County who appealed by $1 billion. But this idea that you're floating before us, you're saying that there's another property tax relief mechanism that you believe you can present to the Board of Adjustment to to adopt and provide that additional property tax relief?
That is correct, sir.
Oh. What are we waiting for?
Yeah, I think as sort of simple as it might sound, there's a lot of math for us to perform to make sure that it's done correctly. And what giving us at the assessor's office a little time to perform those calculations and present to you the actual resulting values for every address in the county.
Well, the state treasurer was my 8th grade algebra teacher, so do that math, I'll check it. I'm sure if it leads to a reduction in the property tax burden, it'll be just fine. So, but I'm interested. I'm absolutely interested in hearing the results of that work and hearing a proposal from the assessor that we could take further action on. I'm totally interested in that.
Thank you, Commissioner Teal. And that recommendation is really significant. It truly represents an historic, unprecedented level of property tax reduction that I'm not aware of any other county exploring at this point, although maybe there might be under your leadership. And because of your expertise, your knowledge, and your commitment to the people, I think it's very simple for me to be open-minded around that recommendation. I think Commissioner Teal makes a good point that this is not a government that is looking for more of our citizens' money. We have enough, and we are pleased to return as much of that back to our citizens as possible. And the reason for that is because we've had good government, but also an amazing county manager in Doug DeBoard, who started out in budget with us about 3 decades ago, long before I was here. Today is his 54th birthday, and I think we're really pleased that we have a very healthy budget and a great county to work from. So thank you for that. Anything else from the Board of County Commissioners?
I have nothing.
Okay, so with that, I know today is somewhat ministerial. No formal action is necessary, but as chair, I'll acknowledge acceptance of the real property and personal property report. Let me ask if there's any additional commissioner comments regarding that. And seeing none, we'll go ahead and adjourn. Have been informed by our clerk's office that we have about 5 minutes to reset the room and get the technology back up, but we will reconvene for our business meeting in a moment. Thank you.